Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm just here to do a very quick craft with me. I thought we'd come and quickly make some tags. I'm doing it quickly, cramming it in while people are still asleep downstairs, just before we kind of go out for the day. So we, you know, in the video where I kind of launched this, we said it might be really good for tags. So I just wanted to come along and make some. I, couldn't stop thinking about them yesterday. So I thought I'd quickly come in and do some today, before we go out. So I've got kind of a bunch of things here, and I also have just got some scraps that I've got laying around from other projects that I've been doing recently. So I thought what we could do is make a blue kind of tag and mix it with some of the fussy cuts in the first instance. So this is using the Prima Ballerina kit, and this was just an offcut, well, not an offcut, it's a full sheet, but just a piece of paper that I had left from a project that I have been doing with that, which I haven't done a video for yet. So I'm just going to cut it down to kind of a tag shape and size. And I thought what I would try and do is just kind of mix in the blue, really. So obviously I'm going to kind of trim it down so we don't have that rose there. Because I thought actually the blue looks really quite pretty against the pink boutique pieces. So I'm just going to kind of trim it down like that. Trim it down that side. And I mean, when I make tags, I kind of generally just make them random sizes. Obviously, I don't measure, and just kind of go with the flow, really. Make them random styles. Sometimes I leave them, rectangular. Sometimes I do the, the corners. Just kind of depends really on the mood. So, we'll just see kind of how it takes us really while we're kind of assembling the tag, the tag together. So I just move these pieces out of the way for a moment. And then what I've done, I've got some coffee dyed card kind of here that I thought we could back this onto. So that obviously even if we don't distress or kind of vintage up the front, the back is then kind of coffee dyed. What do you guys think? Do you think that might be quite good? Or I've got some paper bag here. We could just back it onto that. I'm not sure whether that's going to be quite thick enough is the problem. I didn't really want to kind of have it just on white card at the back. So I'm just having a look through the rubbish that's laying around on my desk to see if I've got any ivory card. I don't think I have. So, right. So I'm going to, I think, back it onto here. So I hope I don't regret this. Well, I guess what we'll do is we will distress around this, so we do make it look quite vintage, and that will kind of, my glue is driving me mad. I've said this in the last few videos. I mean, this is quite a new tube of glue. It's been clogged up since kind of the very first opening of it. Sometimes you just get really bad kind of tubes, don't you? And this is definitely, oh come on, this is definitely one of them. Right. And I had kind of unclogged this prior to coming on. I thought I'll be organised, I'll kind of ensure that the glue's not clogged up. You just can't kind of opposite, I guess. Right. I'll glue it this way down. So I'll just take my card and just smooth it out. So I'm hoping to upload this video today, kind of, whilst I'm doing it. So I can kind of talk in terms of, live and today, rather than kind of confusing people where I'm talking about rubbish that might be 3 weeks ago by the time I upload the video. But yes, so if you watched yesterday, it was Good Friday. And we had really gorgeous weather here in the UK. So we went to the beach. We had a gorgeous beach day. Really, really, really lovely. The beach was packed. But we had a really lovely day. So I think we're going back to the beach today. I don't know whether we're going to go to the same beach or a different one. We've got kind of a sandy beach, is the beach we went to yesterday. That's about 8 miles from our house. And then 8 miles in the different direction, we've got a kind of stony beach, which isn't the greatest, but strangely enough, it is actually quite nice because it's not that popular. So it's really nice to go to, you know, on a really hot day because it's not so busy. You know, you don't have to kind of feel terrified that you can't see the children for 5 minutes and things like that, because it's actually quite empty. And it's also opposite kind of the town, where there's shops and things that you can kind of run and get ice creams. There's cafes and things for if you kind of wanted to get a coffee, or, you know, you need the toilet, things like that. So it's actually, you know, we quite like it there, but it's, you know, generally not really regarded as a particularly great beach, but we have a lot of fun times there. Right, so that's the kind of basis for my tag. Obviously, as you can see, it's coffee dyed kind of on the back. So we're going to take the fussy cuts here and just find a couple of pieces that we might want to kind of have on our tag. So I'm thinking possibly this little balcony piece, and then I'd like to have a word. So I'm just going to cut these words here, because obviously it's a tag, you know, we don't need huge pieces, we just need quite smallish pieces. Do we want anything else? Might just have a look. So just kind of, you know, have a few pieces here ready to kind of play, you know, should we want them. So I just keep them like that. So just pop this to one side for a moment. So pop that to one side. So if I just fussy cut this one out. And again, you know, I kind of debated cutting some bits out ready before doing the video, but I thought, you know, and I've said this before, sometimes when I watch, you know, videos or even kind of like maybe a cooking program or something like that, I like to really see the whole lot, because sometimes, you know, they come on and they've kind of just got the items ready and they say, oh, you know, I've got this piece here. And I mean, obviously this is just cutting, so it's not like you're missing anything. But sometimes they have missed, or I have missed then something that I would have found quite interesting, you know. So I just think actually sometimes it's better to kind of show everything rather than, you know, less, if you see what I mean. Because who knows, you might be kind of missing out the piece that people did want to actually see. I'm not saying anybody obviously wanted to see this, of course, but, you know, who knows, but if you didn't want to see this, I apologise for that too, but, you know, there we go. So I hope everyone had a good Friday yesterday. It was, you know, I don't know whether it's bank holiday kind of everywhere, or whether that's just kind of us here that are lucky enough to have a bank holiday. I don't know whether that's an international kind of thing. But yeah, it's always nice, isn't it, if you have a, you know, a holiday weekend and the weather is nice for it. And that very rarely kind of happens over here. So we were particularly blessed yesterday. Right, I'm going to cut one of these out, or both of these maybe, and kind of see whether I want either of these here. You know, maybe I don't. I'm just kind of toying with the idea. So them out like that. Okay, I'm going to sit down because for some reason I've ended up standing up doing this, and I don't know why I end up doing that. Well, I do when I'm doing, you know, when I'm doing a kind of launch and showing a kit, I stand up to kind of, what's the word? So as I've got enough room to kind of be showing a full A4 page. But I mean, obviously doing a craft with me, I don't really need to be standing up. So I'll sit down because obviously it's easier sitting down. Right, so I've got a few pieces here to kind of play with. I've got my, you know, my basis of my tag. So we can kind of play around. So we could have a piece of doily somewhere on there. Like that. That looks pretty even just like that, doesn't it? And we could kind of have this, oops, just kind of laid around, you know, something like that. To me, that just looks pretty, you know, as it is, with kind of nothing more even on there. But what we'll do, we'll kind of get gluing down. Oops. Oh, come on, glue, play the game. This is so frustrating. So frustrating. Oh, gosh. Yeah, I really don't know what happens sometimes with the glues. You know, kind of sometimes you get one that's really good and really kind of easy out. I don't know whether perhaps the thickness of the glue varies, you know, kind of from batch to batch when they're making it in the factory. Just get some tissue to kind of tap that off. And if the glue is thicker, you know, in a particular batch, then I guess obviously it would be harder to get it out of the tube. I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of one theory that I wonder whether it could be something like that. I don't know. Let's just pop on. Just going to round the corners here. So, and we'd had it kind of placed like this. So want to add a bit of fabric to this now. And again, just got kind of a little scrap of, this is just some white fabric. Again, I think it's just from a little kind of summer dress of my daughter's actually. You know, from years gone by kind of thing. So we could kind of have that there. Or actually, just wondering whether we could kind of staple this across the bottom as a bit of a ruffle. Not sure. Let me just now try inking up and see how that looks, because I don't know why I'm resisting the ink today. Well, and yesterday actually. I don't know why, but I'm, yeah, resisting the ink. And I don't know why that is. Very strange, you know. And now obviously that looks very strange against there because that's inked and nothing else is. So let's ink up the whole lot. Because once you've inked one bit, you've kind of you're kind of then committed, aren't you? And you kind of then end up having to ink the whole lot because otherwise it looks really strange. Now the doily, I'm not inking the whole lot of the doily. I'm just kind of going around, you know, the edges really. So like that. So if we have that piece there and there, I'll just ink up the, oops, the word here. I have to say, I think I preferred it when it was white actually, but that might just be me. So now that we've done that, I feel I need to now ink up the fabric. So just going to grunge that up a bit. Okay. Obviously that's quite a wide piece, it's a bit narrower here. Right, let's try and tear this down and make it a bit thinner, you know, thinner in width. Okay, oops. Put that on there. Like that. Can't decide quite how I want these. And actually I can't decide whether to have this kind of squared off or I might just tear at least one edge. So we've got a kind of rougher edge, even if it's just on that one side. Yeah, kind of preferring it like that a bit, I think. And then, because I'm all about using my little pieces up and my scraps that are kind of laying about, so just got this really weeny piece of lace here. So I might kind of just have that kind of there. That looks pretty, I think. So I'm going to glue this down. Like that. And I'm going to glue this little scrap down. Just going to kind of pop some glue onto one or two of the kind of thicker parts of the lace where it's kind of got a bit more filled in detail. And just pop that, oops, just pop that down like that. Oh, I don't think this glue is actually coming out at all. Can't really see, you know, with the glare of the lamp, but I don't think it was coming out there. So, there we go. That was coming out better. So just pop that like that. And then I'm going to pop that one on top there, that one down here. So I'm just going to, again, glue around this. Like that, oops. And then this one here, this one I might just glue with some hot glue, but kind of leave it so it's slightly raised, if that kind of makes sense, so that it's kind of almost as if it's a bit raised off the page. So if I don't kind of press it down too hard, you know, once I've put the hot glue on, then hopefully it will kind of have a slightly raised effect. So we'll pop that there, and I'm not pressing it down too hard. So, you know, then that's just raised. I mean, you can probably barely see that, but it's just got a slight kind of raised effect. So, you know, which is kind of nice, isn't it? So then I'm just going to take some more of this fabric, just ink it up a little bit more. Like that. Now best do the back as well, because I'm going to use this as my tab, and obviously you may see some of the back. So just kind of have it there. I'll just cut that down. Like that. Oops. And just pop some glue down to hold that down. then I'm just wondering if we want anything else. We've got this little kind of pink advert here that we could kind of pop on. So just cut that one out. I mean, I love having tons of things to use and work with. Just more is always more, I think, so in craft terms. So I love having all these little bits and pieces. So we could have that there. Or actually, there is a white, or you know, a kind of ivory one. So there's two different ones. So let's just try those. So I'm just going to cut those out. Just cut around that. That one might be a bit big, even though it's teensy. Let's try this smaller one. Like that. Just cut that out. My boys are still asleep because they're obviously, well, my middle one, he's 12, so he's not quite a teenager, but he is heading towards that lazy teenage stage. So and my 16-year-old obviously was at work yesterday, so you know, in fairness, he didn't get in until 9:30 because he does a long shift, 12-hour shift. So you know, he's having a kind of lay-in, or they're both having a lay-in, which is lovely because obviously that gives me a bit of time here to craft. My daughter, unfortunately, is up and has been up, you know, since 6:40, I think it was. So she's obviously downstairs with my husband at the moment, and I can hear her on her tablet. So she's obviously kind of waiting, hoping everyone is going to get up in a moment and actually kind of come downstairs and join her. So if you can hear any kind of noise from a kind of tablet, she's watching, you know, kids' cartoons on there. So that's what that noise is, just in case you can kind of hear it. Can't decide whether to have that on there, whether to have it on there with fabric or without fabric. Or perhaps we'll kind of add a little flower. From the trim here. Oh, that looks quite nice, doesn't it? And then actually we probably don't really need the fabric there, so we'll just check. Well, I guess we could have the fabric, but I might have to trim that down slightly because it's a bit wide at the top, so just trim it down, and then we'll just get some frays coming out. I've now trimmed it. Like that. Oops. Right, I quite like that. So I'm going to glue this into place here, like that. And then I might just, oops, pop a bit of glue down there. Again, I'm not entirely convinced that any glue actually came out there. glue on there. Again, I'm going to hot glue this down so as we can kind of leave it slightly raised, just because that gives then a bit of kind of texture. Well, you know, different levels, I guess, to the tag. So take my flower, just checking which is the right and which is the wrong side. Just pop my flower on here, like that. And then I feel like the tag wouldn't be quite complete if we didn't have something here. So across the top, going to put a bit of bling. So just take that. Now just decide whether we want that black one or whether we want the kind of, well, it's not really clear, is it? Well, you know, silver kind of shaded one. So I'm just going to trim the little bits off. Like that. Oh, I can't decide now. Sometimes you're kind of better off, aren't you, not trying things, because then you're you know, a bit stumped kind of which side you prefer. Or we could have these flowers. I've also got this little pearly trim actually, which I'm just literally, these are things that are just hanging around by my desk, so just thought actually I just pick a couple of bits and pieces up. So I quite like this pearly trim, so I might have to pop that somewhere. Now the only thing is that fabric's not really kind of glued down very well, so might not kind of stick there too well. I've got threads of hot glue all over my fingers, so every time I touch something now, it kind of flies off, you know, gets stuck on a thread. Perhaps we'll have that down there. Oops. There we go. Right, I've made a decision. I'm going to go for the silver looking one. So I'm just going to use my wet glue and just pop that on like that. So how pretty does that look? Hope that you can all kind of see it well. Really gorgeous, and it wasn't as I kind of had in mind when I said about making tags yesterday. Obviously I had intended on using the background papers, and then for some reason when I kind of sat down at my desk, just spotted that blue on the floor and thought, oh, that actually would look really pretty with it. So I love how that's turned out, really gorgeous. Love having all these little bits and bobs to use. So I will be back to make some more tags, hopefully, because, you know, I think they're quite fun to make. But unfortunately, this is probably all I've got time for this morning. So, yeah, hopefully I will come back and we'll do some more tags together. So, yeah, hope that you all have a really lovely Easter Saturday now. So, yeah, have a nice day and I will see you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.